Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. New Steelers WR Mike Williams takes petty shot at Jets Aaron Rodgers. It's too bad for casual NFL fans that the Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Jets don't play each other again this season. Another 2024 matchup would be spicy entertainment, especially after the latest social media post from new Steelers receiver Mike Williams. After catching the game-winning touchdown against the Washington Commanders in Week 10, Williams posted a picture of himself from the scoring celebration. As a caption, he wrote, "Thankful." On the surface, it looks like a pretty typical Victory Monday post. However, the emojis and hashtags the receiver chose to use in the caption are grabbing attention on social media. X, formerly Twitter, users are interpreting Williams' use of the redline hashtag and the snake emoji as shots at his former teammate and Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The red line and snake emoji is full petty mode, Steelers Depot's Jim Hester wrote on X. Similar to the Steelers in Week 10, the Jets had a chance to come back and beat the Buffalo Bills during Week 6 this season. But in that game, Rodgers threw an interception on the final play before the 2-minute warning. While explaining to reporters afterwards what happened on the play, Rodgers then threw Williams under the bus. "It's too vertical, routes," Rodgers told reporters in his post-game press conference, via Heavy Sports' Paul Eston. "Allen, Lazard, is down the seam and Mike's down the red line. I'm looking at Allen, he puts his hand up and 3 guys go with him. So I'm throwing a no-look to the red line. And when I peek my eyes back there, Williams is running an in-breaker. He's got to be on the red line." The red line Rodgers referenced is something a lot of NFL teams use in practice. Teams will paint a red stripe on their practice field a few yards away from the sideline to help wideouts know where they should be with their routes. In summary, Rodgers was expecting Williams to be on that imaginary line. He wasn't, and then Rodgers proceeded to tell the media he wasn't. Rodgers has a reputation for treating his teammates, particularly his wide receivers, in that fashion. Throughout his career, Rodgers has been known for being openly critical and honest about mistakes, making newcomers and rookies hard to get involved in the system, wrote Steelers Depot's Alex Kozora. It's why he's preferred to have his receiver room stacked with familiar faces. The red line incident was the beginning of the end for Williams with the Jets. He played just 3 more games in New York after that. In those contests, he had just 2 catches for 21 yards on 4 targets. On November 5, the Jets traded Williams to the Steelers for a 2025 fifth-round pick. SI.com's Matthew Postins wrote that Williams wasn't available to the media in the days after Rodgers' red line criticism because of an injury. When reporters finally had an opportunity to ask him about the play on October 18, Williams kept his response brief. "I just have to be on the red line," said Williams. Williams added that he wasn't worried about the criticism he received from Rodgers. But clearly, the comments stuck with him. The 30-year-old receiver had no problem being in the right spot at the most crucial time during his Steelers debut on November 10. Despite not practicing the route with the Steelers, Williams hauled in a 32-yard touchdown down the sideline to give his new team a 1-point lead late in the 4th quarter of Week 10. The Steelers held on to beat the Commanders 28-27. Ravens' John Harbaugh assesses Russell Wilson's Steelers play ahead of Week 11. When the Baltimore Ravens take the field against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 11, it will mark something wholly new for Charm City's football franchise, their first showdown against Steelers QB Russell Wilson. Now granted, the Ravens have played against Wilson before earlier in the former Wisconsin Badgers career, with the Ebony Birds facing off against him twice as a member of the Seattle Seahawks, in 2015 and 2019, and again in 2022, when he was still a member of the Denver Broncos, but this time is different. Why? Because he will be wearing a black, white, and yellow jersey with a logo on only one side of his helmet. asked for his assessment of Wilson ahead of Week 11, Ravens coach John Harbaugh noted just how challenging he can be to defend, as not only can he still throw and scramble with the best of them, but you never really know who will get the ball when he's under center. Russell Wilson is making plays in the passing game for them. He's done a good job in the boots, the play action, drop-back passes, Harbaugh told reporters. He's using the full depth of the field. He's always been known for throwing the Russell Wilson deep ball, so he does that. He gets out and runs around, scrambles around, makes some throws, makes a couple runs here and there, so he's kind of doing what he's always done, and that's always impressive. Now sure, the Steelers will almost certainly get the ball to players like Najee Harris and George Pickens early and often in Week 11 just like they do practically every week, but when you consider just how much talent is on the Steelers roster, you never know, maybe this will be the week Wilson gets something going to Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Cordarrelle Patterson, or another one of the team's supporting cast members. Elsewhere in his media session, Harbaugh was asked if Week 11's game means even more because it's against the Steelers, who are not only their division foes but arch rivals. While he acknowledged that, yes, the game does hold special weight, he didn't want to give Pittsburgh any added weight, as at the end of the day, the Ravens know they can beat anybody if they play football the way they like to play it. Yes, it doesn't change in this sense, as I tell them that every week. Every game is a big game, and that's the thing in this league that, I think is really important to understand. The more games you win, the better your position is, and it's not like basketball or baseball, where you play all those games, or hockey. You only play 17 regular season games, soon to be 18, but that's not that many, Harbaugh told reporters. In terms of what they mean, every game is really, super important. Dan Quinn turning heads with details of Commanders' response after Steelers' loss. The Washington Commanders' hype train has slowed every briefly after a 28-27 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers at Northwest Stadium. It was yet another learning opportunity for Dan Quinn's team after having a 10-point second-half lead, which they couldn't hold on to. Of course, there will be moments like this throughout the season, but the locker room needs to learn from the mistakes made against Pittsburgh. Quinn reviewed the game and was happy with how his team performed overall, but he is now itching to see what kind of response he will get against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. I was really pumped to see what was transpiring at the end of the second quarter going into the third quarter and to feel that momentum shift, Quinn said. So this was a hard loss, no doubt about it, and the response is what was so important. What I saw on the field towards the end, in the locker room of guys talking to one another, they were mad, and that's what I honestly wanted. To see these missed opportunities to say, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? The Commanders scored 27 points on a defense that gave up an average of just under 15 points per game with the momentum shift. Quinn tasks about being touchdowns scored either side of halftime to open a 10-point lead. The defense also forced 2 takeaways, making it 7 straight games Washington has forced a turnover. Perhaps what makes the loss sting is that Jaden Daniels and the offense were driving late in the fourth quarter to take the lead and were at midfield before turning the ball over on downs. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Dan Quinn? Leave your opinion in the comments.